Okay, good day, ladies and gentlemen. In this occasion, we would like to present our final project of discourse analysis and social linguistics course. This is about conversation analysis in Friends movie. Our group consists of me, Loli Adinda Putri, and then Desi Octavia, Elena Brilliant, and Nadila Ninggita. Next. Okay, this is the table of content of our presentation. The first, we will start from what is conversation analysis, and then the development of conversation analysis, and then the elements of conversation analysis, and then the last, we will talk about the conversation analysis in Friends movie. Okay, without further ado, we will jump to the first topic. This is about what is conversation analysis. So, what is CA actually? Conversation analysis is an approach to social research that investigates the sequential organization of talk as a way of accessing participants' understandings and collaborative means organizing natural forms of social interaction, according to Hatchby. Um, the goal of CA is to learn how people recognize and respond to one another during their turns at talking, with a particular attention on how action sequences are produced. To put it differently, CA aims to uncover the often hidden thinking process and social linguistic skills that underpin the production and interpretation of speech acts in structure sequence of interaction. The next slide, please. We will talk about the the significance of CA. We summarize that CA has three roles in classroom. The first one is we can use CA to determine how teacher and students or students in natural conversation understand and respect one another when it's their turns to talk. The focus of CA, we know that it's on how these sequences of action are generated. It doesn't study the structure of language that is used, but it's rather focused on how language is used in the form of requests, complaints, proposals, or accusations. Number two, we can use CA to understand discussion from an interaction-oriented perspective. CA offers an approach to understanding discussion from an interaction-oriented perspective. This is providing a means of making sense of how students orient themselves to the task of engaging in online discussion. And the last is we can use CA to understand how agreements, personal experiences, and cognition verbs function in online discussion. Next, we will talk about the development of CA will be explained by my friends.
Okay, thank you, Loli, for the opportunity. So basically, conversation analysis was developed in the late 1960s and early 1970s by a sociologist named Harvey Sachs and his colleagues Emmanuel Skelglove and Gail Jefferson. And this development was inspired by Harold Gavenskell's ethnomethodology and Irving Goffman's concept of the order of interaction, and it has been considered as an option that is widely used in fields such as sociology, anthropology, and psychology. And it has had great influence in the fields of interactional sociolinguistics and interactional linguistics, discourse analysis, and discursive psychology. And okay, can we please move to the next slide? Okay, so here is the examples of Jefferson's transcription system. So as you can see, the first symbol is a micropause. So it is used when there's a pause of no significant length. And for the second symbol, it's a square brackets that show where speech overlaps. And for the third one, it's used when there's an unclear section. Okay, for the next part, it will be presented by my friend.
Okay, now I will explain about the elements of CA. There are 7 structures established through conversation analysis. The first one we have adjacency pairs, and then insertion sequence, and then conversation repair, and then back channel signal such as noise, gesture, or emotion, and then prever and or disprever second parts, and then the interruption, and then lastly it is facial expressions, gesture that and etc. that belongs to the uh, body language that this is belongs to the verbal acts that supports conversation. And then next slide please. In this analysis, we also analyze the speech acts. Speech acts itself, this is communicative activities that communicate a certain linguistic function. According to Shirley 1969, there are five main categories of speech acts. Starts from assertive acts, directive speech acts, commissive speech acts, expressive speech acts, and then the last is declarative speech acts. Okay, next we will jump to the analysis. Will be explained by my friend.
So for the analysis, I will be explaining about these parts. So for the analysis, we will analyze Friends. It's a American sitcom. So for the first element, okay. As we know that conversation analysis consists of 7 elements. They are adjacency pairs, back channel repairs, and preferred and dispreferred second parts, interruptions, and nonverbal acts. And to begin with, we will discuss the first elements and followed by another element later on. Here is the example of adjacency pairs. Adjacency pairs are sequences of 2 related utterances which are given by 2 different speakers. From the data here, we can see that Rose greets Rachel by saying hi, and Rachel replies by saying hi as well, and followed by Ben. And this indicates one of the type of adjacency pairs, which is greeting and greetings. So next, we will move on to the second elements of conversation analysis, which is repair. So as for the second elements, there are 4 varieties of repair sequences, namely self-initiated self-repair, other-initiated self-repair, self-initiated other repair, and other-initiated other repair. And from the data shows that the first adjacency pair in which Rose asked questions by saying, are there any Joey's special romance magazine in there? And ended it with a rise, kind of a rise intonations here with this arrow. And then Rachel simply replying by saying no, and then Rose reply by saying okay to Ben, and then followed by an order by saying that all clear to Ben. So, and then Ben running to the bathroom while thanking to Phoebe, and this is where a repair occurs. So actually Ben's what is it, and accidentally saying different names by thanking Phoebe, but otherwise the name is not Phoebe, she's Rachel. And Rachel made a corrections by saying, Ben, it's Rachel, but whatever. So this is the type, this is categorized as other initiated other repair, which is defined as a repair that results from a process that was begun by the addressee, in this case as Ben. So for the next elements of conversation analysis is insertion sequences. So insertion sequence is a sequence of turns that intervenes between the first and second parts of adjacency pair. So the first adjacency pairs that we can see here is that request uttered by Rose, which say that, hey, listen, can you do me a big favor? The dean's office called and said there is an urgent meeting. Can you watch Ben for, I don't know, like an hour? So with the right intonations there. And then Rachel, here is where the insertion sequence come into play. So Ross asking for a what is it is requesting, and for the insertion sequence, it will take place after the several agency pairs, and of course with different turn takings, and thus the other sequences are inserted between the first pair part that has occurred and the second pair part that is anticipated, and followed by the other turn if the second speaker does not produce an answer. So it's not visibly absent in exactly the same way as it would be if there were no intervening sequence. And on the other hand, there were 4 types of insertion sequence in the script of friends, namely suggest, refuse, and then ask for confirmations and confirm. And then the second is, the third is ask question and answer. And the next slide is still about the insertion sequence. So and then the next is assert and agree, then followed by question and answer. The last one is suggest and accept. And the most dominant types of insertion sequence found in the data is that the question and answer. And we can see that the end of insertion sequence is that where Rachel confirming or accepting the request uttered by Rose here. So this is the end of insertion request. For the next part, Nadila will be explaining.
Okay, thank you, Desi. So here we will discuss about preferred and dispreferred second part. So here there is in this asking and response adjacency pair, we found this preferred and preferred second part respond. Here when Rachel asks for suggestion from Rose, Rose answer I don't know. So this answer is categorized as this preferred response because Rachel expected to get a suggestion. But in the second part, but Rose immediately come up with a suggestion in the second part of his author, which fulfilling Rachel expectation. And this is called preferred second part response. And next, we will talk about back channel. So here is back channel. Here Rachel respond to Rose by producing a sound like uh um so this is called a back channel in a conversation, which refers to a sign that the hearer give the hearer give a sign to the speaker as an indicator that they still listen and still following the speaker. Next, we will talk about interruption and nonverbal edge. So here in this asking question adjacency pairs, uh, we found interruption here because the participant of this conversation is Rose and Ben. However, Rachel is interrupt the conversation by saying, "Oh, just like his daddy." So this is an interruption because he takes turn in the conversation without being chosen as the next speaker by Rose or Ben. And however, Rose react to Rachel utterance by smiling. So this is the smiling here is the example of nonverbal aid, which show that Rose agree with Rachel. That's all. The next will be explained by my friend. Thank you.
Okay, so we have come to the conclusion. So there are three aspects that we can focus on. So the first one is conversational analysis holds an important role in understanding how participants respond to one another. And the second one, the development of conversational analysis was greatly impacted by the collaborations between Jefferson and his partners. And the last one, there are several adjacency pairs found in the clips that describe several situations as well. Okay, so that's from me. Thank you for the time and attention.